am recording also, and now going on Facebook Live. I should have done recording later, which I'm going to do.
That's okay. We could talk.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I'm impressed, Chandana, that you're going for it.
Thank you, Marnie. I'm learning.
Yeah.
These girls are making sure I learn.
Samantha has her ways of getting us to
Totally.
do things we resist the most.
Totally. Blame it on
With
me.
like, oops, I pushed you. I'm sorry.
Oops, I pressed recording. I'm sorry. I can stop it and repress it, you know.
Oh, yay!
We are real life.
I did it.
Yay. Yay.
Awesome. Yay. Welcome, everyone. Awesome. All right. So, Fena, you want to take it on, girl?
Yeah, I'm still seeing not yet. Just go ahead, Chandana.
All right. Okay. Awesome.
Okay,
All right.
yay! We're live, we're alive. Okay, this is first of all, welcome everybody out here, the 27 of them that we can see, and the future ones with bodies and without bodies that will get to hear these calls. We're so excited that each of you are here, taking that time out of your life to just meet these three weirdos and each other who are pretty weird as them and more possibly.
Thank you for the compliment.
Most welcome, Chandana. Thank you. And just thank you for showing up. You know, it might seem like a gift call, and you know, why waste those moments? But here you are, choosing something and choosing to receive something from these three people, these three amazing people, Chandana, Isha, and Marnie, and each of our companies. So this call is called CPCK, the Conscious Parents and Conscious Kids, and is being so beautifully held. I mean, the space is held by these three beautiful people, and they are willing to really invite and tug us into different possibilities that we may not even know exists. We may be resistant to. And so shoot your questions today. The floor is yours. These three people, amazing facilitators, are here for you, just for you. Shoot your questions, and you know, let's have it all today.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you for you. I'm just so grateful for who you be. And
Yeah, I'm just making sure we don't have any translation required, right? Or we're just English, or are we translating, or what's happening?
I know we were. Fena, are we translating, honey?
Teman-teman, jika ada yang butuh translate, boleh DM saya, nanti saya kasih linknya. Okay, you just go ahead.
Okay. You don't? Okay, great.
Cool. Thank you.
Wonderful. So what do we want to talk about today? What does Indonesia want to know, and how can we contribute?
Camping modern.
Chandana, you can make me the host,
Yeah.
and you might have to change your Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Isha, you want to take it?
No. So what would, like Mom said, how can we all contribute to you all today? What contribution can we all be to you and your world?
And I wonder, what if parenting could actually be joyful? So how many of you, when you think about parenting, your first response is, yay, happy to dance? And how many of you are, wow, this is a lot of hard work, and my kids do things I don't know what to do with, and sometimes I feel like they just consume all my time and I don't have any space for me. And what if all of the things where we've decided parenting is hard and exhausting, a problem to overcome, what if those are actually lies? And what if the truth is there's a level of joy and ease available to us in parenting if we would be willing to choose it?
I loved what you said, Marnie. There's a level of ease and joy if you're willing to choose it. You know, it's almost like you're supposed to be happy to be a parent. It's almost like it's if you acknowledge, even if you say to yourself on a day that, oh, I don't want to be a parent today, you know, you instantly go into self-judgment and you instantly judge yourself as not just a bad parent, but an evil person, you know, because you allowed yourself to acknowledge that it's not fun to be a parent on certain days. And what does that actually create for us? It creates a space of no choice where, you know, even the allowance of acknowledging to yourself that it's hard on certain days, it's not fun on certain days, and then there are days that are just magical and beautiful and, you know, such a beautiful gift, and that's what has you enjoying and being a parent. But do we even allow ourselves those moments of, oh, it's not fun? Or do we go into judging the child to justify why it's not fun?
Or judging ourselves that we must not know how to do this and we're not getting it right. And all of the things that many of us are good at doing and making ourselves wrong for those days where it's maybe not so much fun.
We are not doing enough.
You're
not doing enough. Yeah.
And then sometimes we don't want to be like our parents. Like, I don't want to do that like they do it to us. And then we start to complain ourselves.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah. And thank you for bringing that up. Isha, you were going to say something.
Go ahead, please complete. I can always.
Okay. I was just going to say thank you for bringing that up, because if we're coming from the place of resisting, I don't like the way my parents raised me, so I will not raise my children the way my parents raised me. Do you actually have total choice of how to be with your kid, or do you have a limited choice of I can only be this way because it's the opposite of what my parents are? Anytime we come from doing something different because we're judging our parents, it creates this tension with our kids because we're fighting against how we were raised rather than being with our kids in a different way. So letting go of the judgment of our parents, being with, you know, there's things I wish they would have done different. So how can I now parent me the way I would have liked to be parented? And from that space, how can I be with my kids?
Yeah.
Love that. And also while having this conversation, we're talking about, you know, parenting your children the way you were parented or not the way you were parented. It's interesting because I've just come back from a really wonderful holiday with my friends, but it was really interesting because you know, over there sitting with a bunch of people who are creating a future in their own ways, individually, uniquely, talking about how they were parented. So much of the time we talk about that, and what was interesting to notice with everyone was they were all talking about, when I have my child, I will be like this with them. When I have my kids, I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do this, they are going to be like this, they're not going to be like this. And it got me wondering, at what age or in what space do we actually start to already decide and conclude what another being is going to live as based on what we think is so great?
What we think is right. That is so beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I could ask you all, at what age did you decide how you would parent and what your child would show up as, and all the disappointment in your world because you feel like you weren't able to live up to your expectations of that age, because that age doesn't even exist anymore, that space doesn't exist anymore. Can you now revoke, reclaim, renounce, denounce, destroy, and uncreate at all times? Godzillion, please.
Yes.
Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pock, online shots, boys and bayons.
Wow, that just facilitated me into something. Thank you. Yeah, the expectations, right? I mean, how many expectations do we have of ourselves based on the judgment of our parents? Or how many expectations do we have of ourselves based on the judgments that we have of how we've turned out? Instead of acknowledging that, well, we're pretty good, you know? So, not that bad. We're pretty good. Not from a space of, well, I got it all wrong, but from a space of, well, if I turned out the way I did, there must be something in that which has been a gift. There must be something in that that can show up even greater. I noticed so
And-
many, yeah.
No, go ahead, Chandana.
No, Marnie, go ahead, darling.
Well, how much of the expectations that we're talking about we expect, and we've decided how we're going to be as parents, we've decided how our kids are supposed to be. How much does holding on to that create the fight? Because if I have this expectation of me and I've decided I'm failing, that I'm fighting against myself. If I have an expectation that my kids should be a certain way, act a certain way, want to do certain things, not want to do other things, and I hold that expectation and they're not matching it, then we are in a fight. And the fight is really because of the expectations, the decisions, the projections that we refuse to let go of. And if we simply went, I'm going to let go, destroy and uncreate everything I've decided I'm supposed to be as a parent, and everything my child is supposed to be as my child, I'm going to let that go, blow it up, burn it, however, get rid of it, and just come from the question of what is possible now? Who are you today? Who am I today? And if neither one of us had to be right, get it right, or live up to some particular image or way of being, how much more ease, how much more joy, how much more fun, and what are the possibilities that you can't see when you're clinging to the expectations that create the fight?
I love how you said clinging to the expectations, which is, it has such an energy of need, just such an intense need that can suck ourselves like so dynamically. And it's interesting because no one perpetrates that on us. We just keep perpetrating that on ourselves. And then creating situations and events outside of us that validate our points of view, of
Yeah.
need and of expectations, and how our expectations may not be fulfilled.
You know, this whole conversation kind of just creates this energy where, you know, the need comes from an expectation, the need to be right, the need to be different, the need to not be wrong. And it comes from, you know, the conversation that what Marnie was talking about, the fight, and what you brought up, the energy of the need, Isha, because the fight is often you feel between the parents and the kids. But how often are you fighting how you are parented? Or how often are you fighting, you know, something that you have judged as wrong, that created a need for something different instead of a choice of something different? And if you're coming from a space of needing something different and now making a choice from the need of it, would you really create greater? Because what you're really coming from is rejection and resistance and reaction to what was, which no longer exists, because like Isha said, that age is not there, that space is not there. It's a brand new world every day. And how different can you be with it?
Marnie, I have a question for you. Thank you so much for sharing
Yeah.
that, Chandana.
You're welcome, darling.
You know, you said something about letting go of judgments. It's how do you do that?
Well, I would say it is the willingness to be so different, so very different, and the willingness to be wrong in the eyes of a lot of other people. Because when you let go of the judgments truly, you're letting go of generation after generation after generation of the right way to do things and the wrong way to do things. So for you to say, I'm going to let go of that, is so different, and it's a judgeable offense. So there's the courage and a willingness that, okay, I'm just going to keep choosing. And when I see that I've got the judgment, all right, interesting point of view, I have that point of view. Who does this belong to? Return it to sender. To step into the place of that, yeah, it's so different. And what I will also say, and I say this as a mom of 3 boys, when you start to choose to come out of the judgment and parent from that different place, boy, there are so many hooks that want to bring you back in to why you're wrong. And I'll just, without going into the details, my son just recently made an interesting choice to make up a very big lie that he told to a lot of people. And it was a pretty significant, this reality lie. And he's still committed to keeping it. And even though it's exposed, he's committed to keeping it. And the what it brought up for me was oh my God, where have I failed? I mean, this is, everybody around, this is dramatic and how terrible. Where have I failed as a parent? And then the going into, is he okay? Is he okay? Is he okay? How can I help? How can I help? How can I help? How can I fix? How can I fix? How can I fix? And recognizing that this young man is an infinite being, not a tiny finite one. And yes, I will be there. And yes, he needs to choose and create, because that's what he's going to do. And whatever judgment comes from that, okay. Am I willing to disrupt the equilibrium that this reality seeks? And they use judgment to keep it in place. Am I willing to the equilibrium of how parenting and children are supposed to be, that's been going on generation after generation after generation? Am I willing to disrupt it and be so different, even if I am viewed as completely wrong?
Wow, I love
Does that
it.
assist, Sam? I know maybe you had to go, but let me know when you come back. Chandana, go ahead.
Marnie, I loved what you just brought up. Oh, look who's visiting.
Hi. Yay.
He's so wonderful. Wow. So I just love what you talked about, about, I didn't love what happened with you and with your son, but I love the way you brought up about the lie, because that is so huge in our worlds. Our kids are telling lies. But I want to look at it this way, and I invite everyone here to look at it this way, that what really are they lying about here? What created the need to lie? So often a lie is a coping mechanism for a child. So, you want to look at what are they coping with here that pushed them into lying. So,
and a great question is, what to your child, if they're open to receive it and at the age where they can. So sometimes this is more energetic than verbal. But what have you decided this lie will give you that you don't know how to get somewhere else? What is it you actually desire? And you've decided that this is the way you're going to get the thing that you desire. And if that wasn't true, where could you actually receive what you desire in a different way? Which is so funny you say this, because my son, this very same one, I had a Facebook memory pop up yesterday. So funny. And gosh, it was from 5 years ago. So he was 9 at the time. And he was watching something on TV, and he runs into the room and he said, "Mom, what if there are no bad people?" I said, "Okay, tell me more." And he said, "So what if all of us want certain things, and some of us know how to get it in a certain way, but some people don't know any other way than doing the things that are supposed to be bad. So they try to get what they want in the bad way because nobody told them they could get it another way. So there'd be no
Wow.
bad people. And then he ran off. He was 90. So, but what about that? I mean, yeah, go ahead, Misha.
No, please complete. That's
Oh, no, I know, but that's so funny that this conversation is occurring because I had totally forgotten about that till it popped up yesterday going, oh, so even with the lie, back to the lie thing, what is it you've decided you desire, require, and you've decided this is how you're going to get it? And if that weren't true, what else would be possible? And also, anytime we come in and judge our kids' choice, so I could be, well, lying is bad, lying is wrong, you shouldn't lie, this is the consequence for you lying. I could do that. Does he actually take away his own experience and awareness if I come in to judge, punish, correct? Not really, because now it becomes about the correction that's been imposed on him. But if I go, interesting choice, what is that created in your world? What is that creating in your world? Do you like what it's creating in your world? To which he does not. So, well, now he knows that. So when we run interference, how much do we keep our kids from having the awareness that allows what they became aware of to be their own and to know it for the rest of their life?
And what can that lie facilitate him into doing and being different now?
Yes, and for parents as well. Sorry, Chandana,
Yeah.
just real quick. When we don't judge our choices, even the ones that create a lot of crap, then that choice can facilitate us into something greater always, always, always. When we don't judge our choices, we don't judge the choices of our kids. That doesn't mean we ignore the awareness we're receiving from them. We're aware of the awareness we're receiving from them. But when we don't judge them, then it leads us to something greater. When we judge them, we lock it in, we go to wrongness, and we stay stuck in the equilibrium of this reality of parenting. Yuck.
And also there is a separation.
Yes.
Yeah.
We create the
Yes.
separation between us to the children and between us to ourselves.
And
Yes.
that's what starts to create the symbiotic relationship with insanity of lies, with insanity of need, with insanity of, where you don't see yourself as infinite, but you see yourself as a finite being that requires to go, that needs, to lie or needs to hide, instead of the willingness to be judged, the willingness to say what is true for you.
Another thing about this is the energy of mediocrity. Anywhere you go to, right and wrong, or good and bad, or evil, like you were talking about evil, it holds mediocrity in place so dynamically. And none of the humanoid parents, none of the humanoid kids came here to keep this reality in existence. We all came here to destroy this reality. But what it takes for us is, in moments that are making judgments show up, right and wrong, good and bad, especially so dynamically, it takes for us to use the tools more dynamically than we ever have before, because just beyond that lies total freedom and probably a space where you would have destroyed this reality in your world so dynamically that will show up, that will show and create a future for us that is going to be so different. But the second you go into validating this reality, when it shows its face to you, that's the moment you keep it real and true.
So, Isha, could you speak a little more about fighting this reality, destroying this reality, and about validating this reality?
So yes, but it's like there is a reality beyond this reality, but we have to be willing to ask for it to show itself to us, for it to show up. So in moments where this reality shows up for you, where you're like, something as simple as putting your child into, what school do I put my child into? Because education is considered really, really significant, right? You want to give your child the best education, you want them to have the greatest future. And if you judge yourself based on thinking that you haven't been able to provide that for them, you're going into this reality.
That too comes from a judgment of what school is the best based on what everybody else is choosing around you, which keeps this reality so real and so solid and significant for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I talk about something really quick with regards to this, where changing the energy of where wrong comes up and changing the energy of where stuck comes up? There's something known as radicals in quantum physics. And radicals are the loose particles that can do anything that they want. Basically, they cannot be controlled into this reality. They're out of control. And they go places and they interact with other particles and they change what the result of something is going to be. And they are in the universe, and you are the universe, so they are technically who you be. So what if all of us could engage with the free radicals and become a free radical of consciousness parenting? That would create a future for your children and everyone you're interacting with, into futures to show up where no one has to be controlled, no one has to control, where the result of what you're creating can be changed dynamically, and you don't have to be controlled by this reality anymore. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, online shots, boys and beyonds.
And can you acknowledge how much of that you are, as Isha said? I mean, really, how much of that are you? The free radical, that what is your response when someone tries to control you, put you in a box, tell you how to be? You might outwardly conform to it because you've decided you have to, but on the inside, you're like, don't put me in a box. I'm a free radical. Don't tell me what to do. Look at 2-year-olds. In America, we call it the terrible twos. I don't know if that's around the world, but it's called
Totally.
the terrible twos. Okay. And I always said the threes were worse. Why the terrible twos? Because they get a little,
I always said
smarter at 3.
I always said it's the easiest when they're in your stomach.
Yeah, that. But how much of that is that free radical, this infinite being comes into the world? And I mean, what's the first thing? You tell a 2-year-old no? Don't tell me no. And then they want to tell you no back, hey, go get your cup off the floor. No. What is that? We come in, as Isha I love what you just read, that free radical that's like, I'm actually here for me. I might be a tiny body and my brain might not be developed yet, but I know what I'm here for. I know what I want and I'm going to have it. That's why I'm here. Get used to it. And then we come as the parent with generations of how it's supposed to be that none of these kids fit into. Yeah. And then there's the fight that we started talking about in the beginning. So just the acknowledgement of the free radical that we be, and so are our kids. We're infinite beings. We desire to be, not put in a box, not confined, not told how it's supposed to, but the freedom and the space to choose to be who and what we truly are.
Yeah. Luciana had a question.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. So listening to you ladies talking about the parenting, I start saying myself, oh, wow, all this time where I have been, all of my parenting point of view, I think it's now it's melting and I start to see there's another possibility of doing the parenting. One thing that I spot on is I acknowledge there is a limitation that to whatever age you are going still to be daddy's little girl or mommy's little sweetheart. And it just kept that some responsibility that no matter how old we are growing and our children is becoming more mature and grow their age and something like that, it's still like we still have that kind of responsibility towards our children. And where can I start to see differently from that space actually to make it more ease in doing this parenting?
Chandana, you want to go?
Okay.
I was going to say, you go.
All right, I'll go. So, Luciana, with responsibility comes a lot of judgments, right? Responsibility is a constant checklist of did I do that? Did I do it right? Did I do it wrong? Was I responsible enough? Did I deliver what was expected of me? It's about fulfilling the expectations that you have of yourself and that your child has of you. The more you feed that, the more the responsibility builds up because expectations keep growing. What if you could actually ask what is required of them? What is it that they require of me right now? Whether it's your parent that you are with, many of us today are in that, that stage of where we have children that have grown up, and we have parents that are getting old. Somewhere you find yourself being needed by both, or at least you think you're needed by both. Oftentimes, they don't even need you, but you've decided that they must need me because I'm their child or I'm their parent, and that's my job. And that comes from years and years, like Marnie spoke about, generations and generations of seeing how your parents did it and how your grandparents did it. And then checking yourself, am I doing it the right way? Am I doing it the way they did it? And if you're not, then you're an irresponsible child or you're an irresponsible parent.
Also, instead of the energy of responsibility, what if you could instill the energy of being the adult of consciousness you be? Which is a lot of times misunderstood as responsibility in this reality. Yeah. An adult of consciousness does not judge themselves for their choices. They're willing to keep going, even if a choice doesn't work out the way they thought it was going to work out. They're like, okay, cool, that didn't work. What else is possible? They keep going, they don't judge themselves. They're willing to manipulate situations for the greater, for themselves and for everyone involved. They don't make themselves wrong, they don't make other people wrong. And it's not that they don't go into this reality, but they use the tools when they go into this reality to get out of it and come to the space that's actually true and real for them. And what else does an adult of consciousness truly mean to you as the infinite being that you be?
And the one question, Isha, I love that adult of consciousness because I've seen you play with that energy for a while now. And yeah, seen you, watched you through it.
Oh boy, blood, sweat, and tears.
And it's also interesting because the other energy that also shows up is often, and Marnie, I'd love you to please share your what you get with this energy too. But I just look at one question: that are you willing to be a useless child? Are you willing to be a useless parent? And are you willing for your kids not to be needy of you and your parents not to be needy of you? And would you to be?
Chandana, we lost
Right or
you a
wrong?
little
Good and
bit,
bad.
unless it was me.
Oh, you did? Did everyone lose me?
Just,
Oh,
yeah, I think so.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Just the last little bit. I don't know if you can remember the last little thing
Yeah.
you said.
I don't remember, but what I said was, what if you're not? What if you are not?
You
Were
were
you
saying,
willing?
what if you could, what if they didn't need you anymore? That's what you were on.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know if she's talking, but I'm going to jump in while it sorts itself out. The other thing I would add to the conversation is when we assign a role to our child, by default, we assign a role to ourselves. So if I have the role for my child to be the sweet little girl, and she starts to not be the sweet little girl, then my role is to make sure she stays in her role. So we keep the balance, we keep the equilibrium, we keep things the same. So letting go of the role for her frees you from every role you have of yourself to make sure of that balance and those roles staying in place. So where can all of us set ourselves free from the roles we have, which sets our kids free from the roles we've assigned to them? What if we didn't have any role to fulfill as a parent, and our kids didn't have any role to fulfill as our kids? We could simply show up, each as infinite beings, each, as Isha said, choosing adultive consciousness, our kids if they choose to, us choosing that, and see what that creates.
Oh,
And I
Marnie.
will also, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so it's like pop-up is like superior, like the parents is more knowing than the children. It's like the superior, so we try to fix them and everything. So wow, thanks.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and that's a fundamental point of view throughout the world. The adults are the superior, all-knowing ones. It's our job to teach our kids because they are not. And yes, they have smaller bodies, and yes, their brains in this body have things that develop through stages and all of those kinds of things. And yes, they are infinite beings with their own knowing too. And when we can honor that, wow, does it set us free rather than having to get things right and make sure they get it right? And what does that open up for them to be honored as an infinite being, to be empowered, and to have choice?
Yeah. Wow, I love that. And all, it's really looking at a good parent. You generally find yourself, when you are trying to be a good parent, you generally find yourself suppressing your child's points of view, suppressing your child's knowing, forcing them to embrace your knowing. And that's when you judge yourself as, I parent my kids well, see, they do exactly what I want them to do. But that's such a lie, right? That is such a lie, because what you've really done is you've just beaten up and whacked up this beautiful infiniteness that was truly, could change the world, into this role like Marnie talked about, and put him into a mold that defined your family, that justified your family's points of views, because that's why I'm fighting for the rightness of my point of view.
And I would love to add into the flavor of this conversation that you get to include you too. And I see a lot of times, especially if you had tyrant parents, I had tyrant parents. And I very much, the beginning of my parenting years, functioned from, I will not be what my parents were to me. But when you come from that judgment, like we talked about earlier, you swing, the pendulum swings, because you're not in actual choice. So I went over to the side of everything was about my kids, and I didn't want to ever cause any damage. So I was always everything about them, everything about them, everything about them. I was nowhere in the equation. And that doesn't actually work, because with that pendulum swing, who becomes the tyrant now? The kids do, because it's all about them. And mom, you don't count. Dad, you don't count. It's about me. I'm here. It's not an either or. It's actually, I'm going to include me in this equation. Actually, I get to have my life too. Actually, there is a possibility of creating something that works for me and you. And this is such a different thing, because there's also this fundamental thing with parenting of somebody wins, somebody loses, somebody gets everything, somebody has to sacrifice. So either you see the parent that's like, forget it. It's my life. I don't care about my kids, and they're pawning their kids off on everyone else. Or you see the parent that it's all about the kids. It's all about the kids. I sacrifice for my kids. What if there's something beyond that, where it's win-win and joy, and ease on all sides? And the way to get there is, I like to call it parenting beyond right and wrong. Because if you're going to stay in the right and wrong paradigm of parenting, that balance and that back and forth, and that one person wins and one person loses, one person gets, one person takes, one person sacrifices, the other person's in control. That will continue. But when you're willing to go beyond right and wrong by asking questions, what else is possible here? Interesting point of view. I think my kids should do that. Interesting point of view. I think I should do that. Then you go beyond right and wrong and into the space where there can be a co-creation that has the joy and the ease that we started off asking, would you like to have that as a parent? It exists beyond the paradigm of right and wrong.
Yeah.
Well, that is so mic
Love that.
dropping. And Marnie, I really like when you're um, telling us that we need to include ourselves in doing the
Yes.
parenting. I mean, well, if I can share a little bit background here, in parenting, mostly what I found here with my friends here in Indonesia, self-deprivation is basically one of the trophy because
Yes. Yes.
Trophy mom.
Yes.
yeah, trophy mom.
Yes.
I'm self-deprivate myself, so I'm the best mom in the world. And some part of it because here we have like a point of view that as a mother, we giving birth to our children, and it and when we giving birth to our children, we tell our children that hey, your mom is facing a situation between the life and the death to deliver you into this world. Therefore, you as a kid, you really need to obey your parents A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and all it's about obedience. You cannot say no to your parents. And
Yeah.
that is mostly where we function from this parenting. And how, how, what can you say about that? I mean, what are the new perspectives that we can have on that?
Well, Chandana and Isha, feel free to. I would start with my most favorite tool that really shifted things for me. Well, two of them, but was for everything I noticed about my kids shouldn't tell me no or whatever. Interesting point of view. I have that point of view. And I would say, interesting point of view. I have that point of view that he should go clean his room. Interesting point of view. I have that point of view that he should just do what he's told. Interesting point of view. And when I would use interesting point of view, it took away where I made those things real, true, absolutes to, it's actually just an interesting point of view. Who's the they that said this is how it should be? And why do they get to say? So it diffused all of the solidity of how it was supposed to be. That was a really wonderful starting place. And then the other thing was just to really ask questions. And if, say, you're dealing with a toddler, you're not going to ask them, well, what's really the no about? You're not going to ask them that because, they're going to be, But you can energetically go, well, what is this? What are they aware of? What is it that they desire, require? And I would love to bring this in, and this gets a little more into the CPCK class topics, but for all of us, energy is our first language. Before we learn words, before our kids learn words, there's energy. And we know energy, even if no one has told us we do. And even if we did know when we were little, but we cut it off, we do know energy. We're aware of it. And when you begin to function more from an energetic place with your kids, things shift and change with a whole lot more ease. And so, example, you tap into the kid and you just like, what's actually occurring here? What do they require? Even with babies, you can go, they're crying. Hungry? No. Needs to sleep? Yeah. Tummy ache? What you can tap in and you go, yes, no, and So can we as parents, we give up what we know in favor of following the experts, our parents, society, religion, culture. We give up what we know in favor of that. So everywhere we've traded our knowing and awareness for ourselves and our children in favor of the they who have told us how it's supposed to be, can we destroy and uncreate that? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. Does that assist? And Chandana, Isha, feel free to.
No, it's fine.
No.
That was a wonderful one there. When I, Marnie, what you shared was so wonderful because those are the tools of access that if you actually start to use them with your parenting, use them in every day. And with parenting, when you start to use the tools, you start to become more of who you be. Because what is your child facilitating you into? I mean, what if when instead of looking at when you said that the parents have so many expectations from the child because the child, like we bore you with the pain of life and death, like you put it. Well, what if that's a great way of controlling your child, instilling that um, obligation that creates this energy of ownership on your child. You don't own your child. You don't own anybody. You're all free beings on this planet who came to choose, we came here to create something different. So when we start to be the owner of our kids, we actually we beat them into being followers instead of being the leaders that they could truly choose to be. So when your parents do that with you, you want to look at, okay, choosing to beat me up here. Am I going into a fight? Or could I be interesting point of view here? And that creates a space. That's where you're receiving, and that's where true choice comes from, where you can actually change something instead of being at defect, or instead of fighting it, or giving that being that way with your kids tomorrow.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Am I audible or
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
you heard the kids scream as well? So thank you so much for this sweet, amazing call. And I hope we will have, and for all the Indonesian people who have joined us, Fena would be making the translation available for you guys, and feel free to get in touch with any of us. Okay, cool, awesome.
She wants to be a part of the call. Hello, you know who's in control now. You can all get in touch with Adhya.
Yeah,
Forget Sam, forget Fina. Just get in touch with Adhya.
please take over my job. I'd be happy. And first of all, thank you. It's been about 40 to 50 minutes of this amazing space sharing and questions and awarenesses, hopefully answers to some of our problems in quotes. This is also us inviting each of you right here to choose a different space with parenting, and which is what we have come to call conscious parents and conscious kids. Wow, it's almost tongue twisting at my end. Sorry for that. And we have an upcoming class that is going to start on the 18th of February to 21st of Feb. We have Fena who's coordinating this with the Indonesian space. Feel free to get in touch with her, or you can ping me, Samantha, here, and we'd be happy to walk each of you through the nitty-gritties and the details and the pricing. But if this is a space you've been asking for facilitation, and if this is something that's tugging your body, being, and heart, feel free to get in touch with us, and we'd be happy to have you on board.
And this class not just only for the parents.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you've ever been a child, this class is for you.
Yes. I would like to just, I know we're wrapping up, but there was a question from Radhika. Can you please talk about child being punished, beating, physical abuse for not doing what parent has asked? What impact does it leave? That's a huge conversation, but I don't want to leave that hanging there, because the one thing I would love to say about that, and with any of the conversation we've had today, if you have been listening today going, wow, there's something really different possible, but that's not how I've been with my kids. I've been very different than that with my kids. Guilt gets us nowhere. So please, if there's any kind of guilt that's come up from, oh my goodness, I failed, I didn't, this is very different and this is not what I've been doing, can we destroy and uncreate that times a godzillion? Yes. Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Guilt only draws us back into this reality of right and wrong. So this can be a bit of a muscle. I know it was for me. Everywhere that I decided I really screwed up with my kids, it took, I would say, some practice in strengthening the muscle not to go back into guilt of things. But I would invite you to be with, no, if guilt comes up, just destroy it and create it. What else is possible? And again, this is a whole other topic, and I know we're wrapping up, but there is not one answer to the question, because don't forget that the child is in the equation of things. And is there another way from physical? Absolutely. And I would say that I've not seen physical punishment work, because it goes back into the not what awareness can the child have. It goes into punishment, and punishment of any kind, but punishment of, this is something Dr. Dane here said. So let's wrap it up with that. And I would say, if you want more on this, we can really dive into it on the 2-day class, which is actually 4 days online. But he said punishment, and he was not referring to physical punishment, but some sort of kind of, this is a direct consequence that I'm giving to a child, is only, it's reserved for the more extreme, and I can get the exact quote, extreme circumstances where you have the awareness that if this behavior continues, it will impact this child's and your future. Other than that, there's always a question, there's always another choice. And so, Chandana and Isha, do you want to, I know we were wrapping, and I'm sorry I didn't feel like we could leave that one hanging. So
thank you for taking that, Marnie.
Yeah,
I didn't get to read it. Yeah.
And if this is you, a child who is asking from the space of a child, please know you are an infinite being. Even if you were not acknowledged for it, what is true is always going to be true. Am I stuck?
I think I am.
I'm stuck?
Oh, yeah, you're stuck.
Am I here?
Yes, you're here now.
Yeah, I'm here. Okay, I'm here. And what is true is always going to be true. So what if, from the spaces of the infiniteness that you have always been, and in the infinite being you have always been, you could recognize the power and potency of even that choice? And I would ask you, what were you facilitating your parents into?
Yes.
And yourself into, that you haven't acknowledged yet?
Yes.
Thank you.
Wow.
Right, wrong, good and bad, POD and POC online.
Beautiful. I got goosebumps on that. I suddenly feel less guilty. Thank you.
And my favorite question that is just that crumbles universes, which is given by Gary Douglas, is, what energy, space, and consciousness can you and your body be to be unabusable and ungaslightable for all eternity?
Love.
Wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, online shorts, boys and beyonds. And if you start using this, what this will do is it'll also kind of destroy and uncreate the residues of what could have showed up in the past, and that does not have to show up for you in the future, or you do not have to carry forward that energy for you in the future as anything. You are the dominant entity of your life.
Wow. Cool. Awesome.
Yes. Yeah. And just to go back to the invitation to the 2-day CPCK class, which we're doing over 4 days online, these are the kinds of things we can really dive into. So whether there was, you're talking about abuse to you, or you as the parent are like, wow, these are the ways I've dealt with my kids, how can I, it's sticking me now, or any other multitude of questions. And as Fenna said, it's not, you don't have to be a parent. Chandana said it, if you've ever been a kid, because when we were kids is where a lot of us began to lose ourselves in favor of everybody else's point of view. And so this class is an exploration into you reconnecting with you and showing up as you, the infinite being, not you, the parent, not you, the kid, not you, the any other role or definition, you, the infinite being, who is powerful beyond measure, creator of magnitude, who truly can have a life of ease, joy, glory in all areas if you so choose. So that is our invitation to you, if it sounds fun.
Thank you. That is so beautiful.
You
Yeah,
and see you in the class.
totally. See you, honey.
And thank you all for being with us today and your questions. And yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely
you.
amazing.
Everyone, and see you.
Thank you, everyone, and we look forward to having you join us. Bye,
Bye.
guys.
I'm so
Bye.
excited
Bye-bye.
to see you.